Hello and welcome to IASLE Podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first IASLE webinars on general AI and Chatbot. Section 1, what do you know about ChatGPT? Our keynote speaker today is Maiga CHANG. I think without further ado, I will give the floor to Maiga CHANG. Please go ahead and get started. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I believe you can all see my screen and yeah, that's good. So first of all, thank you so much for joining us. I have many hats, so in this opportunity, I will be the speaker, and I also needed to say that I'm also the vice president of International Association of Smart Learning Environments. So basically, we are considering to start the first webinar series on generative AI and chatbot, because this is a very ongoing hot research topic right now. And later in next year and the following years, we will have a different webinar series for different topics according to the needs from everyone in the world. So within the webinar series, we will have 4 to 6 webinars every year talking about different kind of research, different kind of perspectives for that topic. So this year, I am starting to first of all give you some basics about ChatGPT and GPT. So later you will have a better idea about everything that we can do or we cannot do with ChatGPT or generative AI. So you will not surprise. So my name is Maiga Zhang. I'm a full professor in Athabasca University. And right now I'm also IEEE Computer Society Distinguished Visitor on natural language processing and artificial intelligence. So today it is my honor to give you this webinar, which is what do you want to know about GPT. I needed to say sorry first. I need to apologize first, because after this talk, after this webinar, you probably will not have that dream anymore. My talk might ruin your dream about what the ChatGPT can do. Wow, what a good AI right now we have. Unfortunately, that is not really true, I need to say. But the people, they cannot really see that. So in this talk, I will give you some ideas about GPT. And in that case, you will be able to understand why sometimes some kind of situation, generative AI or ChatGPT cannot really do that kind of things. So let's start. Let's start with something which is unusual, which is something that most of people, you have a different perceptions or different understanding than us. What that is? That is the terms. So we all know that right now, when you hear from the news, seeing inside of a magazine, you see artificial intelligence. It seems very, very powerful and very good applications out there, right? But I need to tell you that actually, in the most of the case, when you see this term AI in the real world, they are a kind of different from what we call AI in the research or in this discipline. So AI, usually we are referring to natural language processing, and then we have a statistical natural language processing, and we also consider to have rules for the computers to digest and to react. That is as per system. So why we consider that? Because AI at the very beginning is considering to have computers that can understanding human. and then maybe talk and support human beings. On the other hand, we have another discipline called computational intelligence. So computational intelligence, including the neural networks, including the fuzzy, sometimes your washing machine, they say they have a fuzzy system, they are AI. Yes, so see, actually we are not calling them AI. Fuzzy system neural networks or other bio-inspired approach like a swarm, like an ant colony, like a genetic algorithm, they are belonging to computational intelligence. We use computer to simulate the intelligence. We use the things that we see in the real world and try to implement them inside of a computer. So we see we have our human being, we have a neural networks. So we create neural networks. We heard someone saying today's weather is good, today's weather is hard, not too hard. That is a kind of fuzzy things. So we implement that fuzzy things into inside of a computer. We also see that our human beings or any kind of creatures in the world, they can evolve. They can collaborate with each other. So, so in that case, we're trying to simulate that inside of the system. So that is computational intelligence. And also we have other things like data mining, evolutionary computation. They are the 4 key areas right now we can see in the world. But when you hear AI, actually they are a little bit different from these 4 research areas. So here is a proof from Athabasca University's course. You can see this course is an artificial intelligence course, and you can see we have part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4. So you can see until part 3, we have 2 topics. They are related to machine learning. And you can see that is the deep learning is here. So that is machine learning, especially neural networks. But you can also see that others, multi-agent learning, they are not related to neural networks or statistical learning and so on. So you need to understand that actually inside of artificial intelligence area, unfortunately, we are not really consider neural networks too much. On the other hand, you can see here is another course called Computational Intelligence course. And inside of this course, you can see in Unit 2, we are talking about artificial neural networks. And then, as I mentioned, genetic algorithm. And of course, you can also see the Unit 4 is swarm. So both of genetic algorithm and swarm, they are belonging to bio-inspired research or approach. So in that sense, right now you have a picture. When you hear from the news, hear from the companies, or hear from seeing from the movies, or read from the magazine, usually when people they are talking AI, they are talking about computational intelligence, especially neural networks, and also that is the machine learning. When you are hearing machine learning terms, actually people they are referring to neural networks. On the other hand, due to we have Google, and Google trying to integrate both of neural networks and the natural language together. So we have a neural NLP. So that is what right now artificial intelligence, we have another sub-branch, which is neural natural language processing, which is based on neural networks. And that is what you know about ChatGPT. So this is what I want to give you the first, to making sure that you know actually there are so many terms out there. And right now when we are talking generative AI, especially ChatGPT, actually we are mainly talking about here. Okay, so since it is about neural networks based on natural language processing, so you need to understand what is neural networks, the basic idea about neural networks, and then you can understand the limitation of ChatGPT. So everyone, you should have a basic idea about neural networks. That is, we have many neurons inside our brain. And when it gets stimulated, it sometimes will activate. Sometimes it will not activate. It's just like you put some kind of electricity signal to something, and when the threshold is reached, then you see the light. If the threshold is not reached, you are not giving sufficient electricity current, then the light will not be light up. So that is the idea. That is the same idea. A lamp is a neuron. So there are so many neurons. They are linked together, and inside of our brain. And we want to simulate that kind of phenomena or that kind of structure. So we consider that we can have multiple, for example, your IC chip or multiple logic trying to link together. So you have a different kind of input. And when you see that input, whether or not it will make you recall something. For example, when you smell something, it will make you recall pizza. Or when you see something red and in a ball shape, it will make you recall maybe apple. So that is the input. And when the input can reach a kind of threshold, then some neurons, they will be activated. So that is our neural networks. You have so many neurons. And at the end, there are some neurons, they will be activated. So you can remember something, you will react to something. So that is the idea. And each of the neuron, we will have a connection. So when you see something, you will have input, and that signal will go to the next layer. As I say, depending on whether or not you have enough electricity current, this neuron may or may not sending out the signal to other neuron. So that is our neural networks basic. Now, it is very important to remind you a principle which right now is still the case, but of course some of the scientists, they actually consider maybe that is real. What is the case? The case is people, they think when we grow up, we will have the fixed number of neurons. Some of them, they will be aged and they will die, but then we will have a new neuron to come out and fill that gap. So at the end, an adult, they will have the same size of a neuron all the time. On the other hand, there are very few scientists, they say maybe we will have more. But right now, there is no very solid evidence to support this argument. But right now, we have this argument saying that, in fact, in our human mind, our brain, we will have more neuron. We could have more neuron sometimes in the future. But the mainstream is considering that once we have our neuron and the structure built, they will be forever. So that is one thing you need to remember. Because of this theory or this argument, so basically right now, all the neural networks, they are pre-designed based on how many inputs you will have, how many outputs you will have, and also how many hidden layers you will have. In each of the hidden layer, how many neurons you will have. So which means when you build a neural networks model, they will be fixed. And if you want to say, for example, now I want to have one extra neuron as input, or I want to have one extra neuron as output. If I want to do that, then I need to retrain the whole neural networks. So we need to build a new neural networks model and then training it. So this is a kind of a limitation you needed to remember due to the principle or due to the scientists, they are believing what we have in our brain. So when we create similar things in computer, we follow that. And because we follow that, that gives us some kind of limitation. And what this limitation will give to you, I will tell you later. That is what we see something in ChatGPT, and you probably don't understand why, but now because you know the limitation of neural networks, you also know the limitation of ChatGPT. So as I said earlier, any kind of input, they will be add up. And if it reaches some kind of point, then it can do something and will generate output. And how we train the neural networks, just like we train our children. So that means, for example, you bring the apple in front of your children and tell him or her, this is an apple. And then you can change it to another apple, which is not so red, and the shape may not be so good. You say, this is also an apple. So you can bring them the Gala apple, you can bring them the Ambrosia apple, you can bring them the Fuji apple. They are all apple, but they are looking a little bit different in terms of size, shape, and color. So when children, they see that kind of different apple, they will try to have your feedback. Oh, this is apple. So they will try to adjust the connection between their neurons. So that is what we are training. As you can see, you can do a cat finder. So you can have a different kind of cats. You can also have different kind of dogs. And when you train your neural networks, you give your neural networks the image of different kind of animals and tell the model saying, this is a cat. Yes, this is a cat. No, this is a dog. Something like this. So in that case, after hundreds of training, you can get a neural networks model that can identify the cats. And remember, that is once again, as I mentioned, you have output. So let's say if you only have 2 neurons as output, what that happen? That will make your neural networks can only identify several things. For example, this is not a dog, this is a dog, this is a cat, or maybe we can have one more classification that this is a wolf. So see, because we have 2 nodes, so in computer, Unfortunately, in computer, usually we consider 0 or 1, which is binary output. So your output could be 1, 0, which means this is a dog. Your output can be 0, 1. That means cat. Your output can be 0, 0. Then that is nothing. I cannot recognize. And your output can be 1, 1. That could be the third thing. So that is why I tell you it is very, very, very important to know that the neural network's limitation is the structure and the numbers of neurons, they are fixed. See? Can we use these neural networks to train to identify all kinds of animals? No, we cannot because of the output. The output layer only has 2 neurons. So you cannot use this model to train and allow computers to identify all kinds of different kind of animals. On the other hand, let's see. You can see here we have the input layers. Looks like a 2-dimension things, right? Earlier, we always use 1 dimension to represent our neural networks. But I need to let you know that when we are trying to train the neural networks to recognize an image or an emotion, then sometimes our neural networks, the input layer, they will be looking like a 2-dimension plane. Why? Because each of these dots can represent a pixel on your photo. So you can understand that I have a photo, looks like this one, and I directly map to this input layer. And each of the node is a pixel. Just like your eyes. You see something because different kind of lights and color go through your neurons in your eyes and then go inside of your brain, activate or deactivate some other neurons. At the end, you say, oh, this is a sunny day. Oh, this is an apple, and so on. So that is how neural networks work. And when you have your neural networks, you can have many layers, different kinds of shapes, and they will have intermediate output. So for example, you have different photos. When you feed into this layer, at the end, the output of this layer will tell you some kind of local patterns. And then those local patterns will go inside to another layer as input. And then at the end, the output of this hidden layer will be, for example, your feature of your eyes or your feature of nose and so on. And then those kind of information can feed into another hidden layer, and that will have output about face. So if I have a face, then I can further get into another output layer to do more things. So that is a kind of facial recognition process, and you can see from the beginning to the end. So the nodes, the neurons number getting smaller, and smaller. Why? Because when you have your photo, you take your photo of your face. At the end, we only needed to know, are you someone? So actually, a photo may have 8 million pixels. But at the end, I only need, for example, 10,000 people's name. So that is why usually, in general, the input layers will have more neurons than output layers. So here you also see that is a kind of limitation that I said earlier. So you have a photo, right? But you all know that your cell phone now can take a photo with 8 million pixels or 30 million pixels. How about next year? That could have like a 20 million pixel the resolution, very high resolution. You have a very good quality of your photo. Do you still remember what we say about the fixed number of input? Yes. See, we train the neural networks. They have a fixed number of the neurons, so they may not be able to adopt the new high-quality picture. Fortunately, inside of neural networks or machine learning research area, we have a kind of way to try to solve this problem. So right now, the very popular methodology is using CNN. But I'm not talking about neural networks here, so I don't need to explain and you don't need to understand how they do this. So even you have a larger photos, we can still try to get some ideas for training our neural networks. But now, see, you already understand this. This is just like the IC chip we have. So see, we have an IC chip here. We have some input. We have some processing unit. They are connected with this kind of things. And if we break it out, if we take a look at inside, you will see they are looking like this. So just like I say, you have input, and they are all connected to something inside of this piece. But how these pieces, they are connected, if you further go inside, you can see this is our input earlier, and all of them, they will connect to another things through these very tiny, thin lines. So this is people who designed IC chip. Consider that this IC chip is created by you. You know this node has this line connected to another place, and this place will have another line connected to another place. So this is designed by you, right? But let me ask you a question. Can you let me know if I have a signal coming in from this pin, what will be the output? No, no one can tell you that. Even you are the designer. So just like what you see here, you design this, you connect everything. You know this pixel belongs to a photo. For example, you know this node belonging to this part of your photo. You know this node belongs to this part of the photo. But if I give you something, do you really know what is the output here or here or here? You cannot really know that because it is out of your control, and you cannot really calculate that because there are so many connections. You need to work through one by one, doing the calculation, work through one by one, doing another calculation, and then at the end, you might be able to know what is the output of this node. So that is something I want you to know. See, we can train a computer with a model, but actually, can you really predict what the output will be from that model? You cannot. Just like you teach your children, You teach them very hard with a lot of examples, but at the end, they just don't act like what you expect, right? So this is something I want you to know about the neural networks, and we know that the ChatGPT is based on neural networks. Before I'm talking about ChatGPT, I need to also let you know, now you already know neural networks is its core, but it has another very important thing you need to know, that is GPT. Yeah, ChatGPT, GPT. What is GPT? Why you need to know what is GPT? Because when you know what is GPT, you will know the goal of ChatGPT. So GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. These three keywords, they are so important. Why? Because Generative Pre-trained Transformer has its goal. The goal is trying to predict what the next token, when we are talking about token, actually we are talking about words. So it is trained to predict what is the next word based on previous words. Okay? How are, oh, you probably want to say you, right? How do you, oh, you probably want to say do. What is going, oh, you probably want to say on. See, this is the one of the goal that the GPT wants to have to do. They want to predict the next words according to what you are doing. So the transformer can be used for what? Google search engine, right? When you try to search something, you want to say Python, and then the next words coming out is programming, or Python is a kind of a creature in the word. So based on what you enter, you key in, the next word can be generated. The second goal of the generative pre-trained transformer is trying to produce a text which is written like a human being who write. Okay, now I want to ask you, do you see any intelligence from these two goals? Do they say that they wanted to create a test which is correct, which is accurate? No, they didn't say that. They say they wanted to predict what the next word could be based on the earlier words. And when they create those words, you will believe those words are created by human beings. See, that these two are very important, because when you see the goal, you can know what they are doing, what they want to do, and you needed to know that actually when they are creating GPT, they are really not considering to create something which you call intelligent. Okay, and ChatGPT actually use GPT-3, 3.5, and right now is GPT-4. Let me use GPT-3 for example, and I will also show you what they have for GPT-4. So GPT-3 released in 2020, and you can see that it can take 2048 long words. So remember, when you see token, that means word. So 2048 words. And you probably say, why not 2049? Why not 2047? Why not 2050? If you have that question, I have already answered you that, because the reason is neural networks has a fixed model, right? So that is something I want you to know. And then it is training from the data from October 2019. So you can see that all the different kind of GPT, their training data is 2019. And then we have 3.5, the training data is 2021. And then we have GPT-4, the training data is 2021, September 2. And you can see that 8,000 words are their limitation. Earlier, 3.5 is 4,000 words. So you can see that every time when they wanted to do something, they needed to train the neural networks. And you can see they have different models, and 32K means 32K words. And of course, they're also trying to use more recent data to train another thing. So you can see that it's December 23, April 23, and so on. All the training data coming from 60% coming from Common Cloud, which is from the internet, and 22% from the test, and we have 8% from book 1, 8% from book set 2. So this will be very important because the GPT was trained by the data from internet, which means what we have in the books, we also have Harry Potter. So when you ask GPT or ChatGPT, do you believe in magic? It will say, I'm not quite sure if I believe in magic. And you ask it, do you know any spell which I can use to cast and open a door? They will tell you, yes, I do know. For example, you can use open sesame, then you can open the door. See? You train your children with anything, then your children will consider everything is true. And you also know that the internet information is not vetted, so they may be wrong. And here is Common Cloud. I want to show you this. This is the data size. So you can see that in 2019, October, we have a 93 terabyte. Remember, this is compressed data. So actually, if you uncompress it, it will be even bigger. Remember, all the data, they are pure text. They are image. They are not image. So basically, when you compress them, they will become very huge one. And you can also see that September 21 and March and December. So at the end, we have 135 terabyte data we needed to train our GPT. Now, it is another limitation I wanted to tell you, which is tokenizers. Because neural networks, they are based on what we have in our human mind. So everything, as I told you earlier, they are based on electricity current level. So electricity current level, they are numbers. They are not words. Just like when you see the lights, that's you say this is too bright because it causes you some kind of feeling because of the light. The current is too high, so you feel uncomfortable. So that is the same thing here. You can see when you are training your GPT, you need to change, you need to convert all the words to what we call numbers. And we use a tokenizer to do this. So you can see if you use different tokenizer, what will happen? For the same piece of text, the tokenizer 1 say the is 1, of is 2, and is 3, in is 4, and so on. Everything looks good until here. you can see tokenizer say 10 is width, R is 11, N is 12. But here, tokenizer 2 say by is 10, N is 11, or is 12, and width actually is 15. So you need to understand that when you use different tokenizers, the numbers will be different. So you always need to use the same tokenizer to train your model and to interpret what they say. If you use different tokenizers, then actually your training will be not accurate and the output interpretation will be not correct. So this is what I want to let you know. And also, if you use different tokenizer, what happens is you will get different information. So as I say, if we use tokenizer 2, the original test will become something like this one. And at the end, you can see Animalia is gone, and book by Bass, and it is not considered illustrated children's book, but only a book by Bass, and also the author's name is gone. So you can see that is why you need to always use the same tokenizers to train your model. Otherwise, you will see the different interpretation and your model will be trained totally different. So how large this kind of GPT is? It has 175 billion parameters, and it requires 800 gigabytes to store. By the way, when I say 800 gigabytes to store, it's not only about your disk space. If you want to use this, you need to load the whole 800 gigabytes to your memory. Do anyone have a computer with RAM that has more than 800 gigabyte memory? I don't think so. So see, that is so huge, and don't even mention about GPT-4. And by the way, Microsoft has the exclusive right to use GPT-3 and so on. So now you already know what the GPT stands for and what is the core technology and the limitation behind the scene, which is neural networks. Now you can see the experience, and perhaps you will understand why it looks good, why sometimes it looks not good, and why sometimes you cannot use it. So the factual knowledge, if you ask a question like, what should I avoid while writing in English? The answer will be, oh, when writing in English, it is important to avoid using informal language, blah, 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 and blah, blah, blah. See? That looks good, right? Why? Because when they learn everything, maybe on the internet, there are many people they are talking about how to avoid writing English or something like that. So it can provide you factual knowledge. And also, this is another example. Can you summarize a major pandemic in history? So basically, as long as they learn, they see pandemic, they see history, they see timeline, then they can generate words by words based on the content. So you remember this, so you understand why the factual knowledge could be done. But you also need to understand that the data coming from Wikipedia and the internet. So sometimes they may learn the wrong information. However, if you ask factual knowledge, but with more creative way, for example, you say, is there any ocean-related question whose answer is 42? Then GPT will give you, oh, the question is, what is the average depth of Pacific Ocean in feet? The answer is 42 feet. See? When you see this, will you surprise? I will. So actually, I do a very simple Google search, and I found that the answer coming from National Oceanic, and they say the average depth of our Pacific Ocean is about 13,000 feet, not 42. Remember, see, for the factual knowledge, you need to consider not creative. So if you ask any factual knowledge, the knowledge needed to be very straightforward. The question needed to be very straightforward. Otherwise, you will not get a correct answer. Again, why? Because it only read your context and predict the next words based on what they learn. Actually, they are not doing calculation. And how about translation and the chat in different language? You can see that I put a different kind of language and it will say, okay, the Spanish is good morning, how are you? And this one in Chinese is also good morning, how are you? And so on. So you can also talk to it with a different kind of language like French. And why? Because GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. The transformer actually was used for translation. So when we train transformer, actually we can put our input two kind of language and allow transformer to learn these two sentences in different languages. They are same. So that is also same thing. You can put your question and your answer into the transformer. So they will know that this question is related to this answer, is connecting to that answer. So that is the transformer. Because we know ChatGPT was based on transformer, so we know it works. And how about math? That is a very, very special situation. We have some kind of course question. And inside of course question, we have a method A, which required A multiplied 8 steps. And the other one, the other method required 64 n log n steps. So they are mathematics question. And then we ask them, what happened if n equals to 1, equals to 2, equals to 4, equals to 30, where method 1 has a larger number than method 2. And you can see that it say when n equals to 43, actually it says that method 1 is faster, is having, for example, having the number less or smaller than the other one. And for 42, it's the same. Method 1 actually will not faster. But 41, method 1 will be faster again. So see, we have two mathematics equation. We have n. So basically, you know that their numbers. So it will be not happening if you have a number 43, which A larger than B, 42, B larger than A, 41, A larger than B again. You should have a breakpoint. In that case, after that number, always method 1 will be larger than method 2, something like that. So we are not really think that is correct. So actually at the end, I try to ask it a very simple question. What is the value of 64 multiplied 43? It say 2736. I say, very good. It says, glad I can help. However, I say, do you really think the number is 2736? Will that be 2752? It says, no, the value should be 2736. And here is my calculator says, the answer is 2752. Once again, why? Because do you still remember ChatGPT is based on GPT? The goal of GPT is based on the existing words to predict the next words. So they are not really doing calculation. They are just read your words and generate the next words. On the other hand, it is something like learning. So my student asked about turkey things because Thanksgiving. So the turkey recipe says that you may need to use, for example, 20 minutes per pound for your turkey. So my student asked, how about 4 kilo of the turkey? How many minutes I need to use? And you can see that the ChatGPT say, 2 hours. Okay, you do know that 2 kilo is about 12 pounds, and 20 minutes multiplied 12 will be 200 minutes or something like that. That will be not 2 hours, right? So actually, it's trying to get through with the ChatGPT, and then at the end, next time when we ask the same question about the recipe, it is not saying about 20 minutes per pound. And also, when we are saying about 6 kilo of the turkey, it will say, okay, take about 4 to 5 hours to cook. So it seems to be learning, right? Now, why? Why is it learning? Do you still remember the magic number 2048 token long, or 4,000 token, or 8,000 token? Yes. When you are talking to ChatGPT, actually you are not talking to ChatGPT line by line. Every time when you talk to ChatGPT, all the chat history will be sending to the model to process. So actually, when it's trying to generate the words, it is not only generate the words based on the line you say right now, but generate everything based on everything you have talked with it. So that is why it looks like they are learning. But actually, if you are talking to them 2 times or 3 times with different chat initiated, then you will see that the result is usually the same, unless you talk to it today and tomorrow or 2 months later. Why? Because some people in Microsoft or in OpenAI, they will tune the neural networks from time to time based on your chat. So if you put some kind of words like say, you are so stupid or something like this, then someone at OpenAI, they will pick up those content and see what happened, why you think ChatGPT is stupid. And then they will try to change that. They will try to reinforce learning for the model. So anyway, this looks like another human being. So basically, my students, he is very keen to develop content for COVID. So he said that if we have so many medical major, health major, which one you think is most important? And ChatGPT says actually hand washing is most important. But my students think vaccination is most important. So they are arguing, and of course, no one can convince anyone. And at the end, my students say, okay, you are really committed to this idea. Can you provide me some source why you think like this way? So the VIP bot provide him a kind of sources, but I need to let you know. Remember, what is ChatGPT? What is GPT? GPT is generating words based on existing words. So which means when it generates this link, it is generate HTTPS www.who.int/ what I should generate for next? Newsroom. / what I should generate next? Perhaps commentary. What I should generate next? Oh, perhaps detail. So remember, that is the problem, because usually the links, they are not working because they are generated. They are not really existing. So another thing is, this is a very special case. You can see I ask a very simple question. Do you know what is ChatGPT? And you can see ChatGPT says, no, I'm not familiar with it. Can you tell me more about that? Come on, you are ChatGPT. Why you cannot know what is ChatGPT? But then you can see later I say, I have heard that ChatGPT is trained with conversational text. It says, yes, that's right. ChatGPT is a language model trained with conversational text that use machine learning, blah, blah, blah. Okay, you just told me that you don't know ChatGPT, but now you say you know ChatGPT is a language model. See? Now, think about that. Why? Very easy. As you remember, GPT, one of the goals is to generate words based on existing words. So earlier I say, do you know GPT, ChatGPT? But later I say, ChatGPT trained conversational text. So different keywords, their sequence, they will activate some of the neurons, and then that is why the output will be different. So see, if you know the rules behind the scene, you know what the GPT stands for, then you know why. This is a very similar thing. I say, do you know PCJS? It says, never heard of it. What is it? But then I say, how about PCJS? Suddenly, ChatGPT knows, oh, PCJS is JavaScript library. Do you see the difference? The difference, one major difference actually is the capital PCJS versus lowercase PCJS. And that will give you different answer. Again, recommended reading material, as I say, you can have many different kind of materials or URL or resources recommended by GPT. But usually you will see this page is not found, there is not reachable, there is nothing, and nothing, and nothing. Once again, why? Because the link is generated. The link is not stored and retrieved. So misleading. So you can see that actually they are not really know what they are saying, so they will be misled. So one of my students asked, I heard about something about Harry Potter. So do you know which page Harry Potter learned he is a wizard? And then ChatGPT say, oh, that is page 53 in the Philosopher's Stone. And of course, it's also quote, yeah, see the boy from the cupboard under the sail, I'm a wizard. Then my students say, I heard about that it's coming from 42. It says, no, that is 53, perhaps another version. Oh, yes, that's making sense, right? But you know, I am a guy who are doing research, so I really not believe it. And by the way, I know neural networks, I know GPT. So actually, I try to find these books online. And the English version, the original version, and I read that, and definitely I don't see that. So you can see here, I ask chapter 7's heading. It's say the sorting hat, and I say no, I don't see the words in the chapter, and then it's saying again, and of course, I try to say, okay, no, sorting hat is not saying that, and then the bot is convinced, saying, oh yeah, you are right, probably not. But it's still on page 53. And then I say, oh, I'm wrong. You are right. Then it say, glad to help. So see, actually the answer is I needed to let you know. No, there is no such words in page 53 in the Philosopher's Stone. And no, there is no such words in chapter 7, the Sorting Hats. So, but that is a GPT. We know the GPT. So discussion here is students' perception. Actually, right now, many students, they consider to use it as a search engine. And they don't really Googling anymore. They think that it's complete things. And they also rely it to complete our learning activity. So which means they may not really learn the knowledge or concepts we are teaching them. And they also believe everything is right, is correct. On the other hand, students use it to do assignment, which concern the teachers a lot. And also, teachers, they are so concerned about they cannot differentiate AI written and human written works. I don't have time to show you this, but later, if we have a chance, maybe at the end of the webinar series, I will show you how we can differentiate AI written test and human written test. And then they also don't know how to use this for teaching or reducing their workload. Fortunately, one of our webinar later, we are talking about teaching you how to use ChatGPT to reduce your workload and how to use it to teach. So as I say, this is a series of webinars about generative AI and chatbot, and I am doing the first basic 101 things. And then later in the remaining webinar, you will learn more things about how to use ChatGPT, how to use generative AI in higher education or different kind of teaching, how to reducing your workload with ChatGPT and so on. So today, I talk about the goal of GPT. I also show you the neural networks, how it works, so you understand the limitation. And we see some experience, and now you know why those experiences will be seen. The things very important is to do and not to do. So students can search for factual knowledge, but they need to know that not everything is correct. So they need to have a 21st century skill, which is verifying the accuracy of information they see. And another to do is, of course, students should not just copy and paste the answers, and also they should not trust the links or resources ChatGPT provide them, as well as researchers, please do not use ChatGPT to write papers for you, because right now many of the surveys like Turnitin will give editors or journals an AI index. And for example, I know many journals, if they see AI index larger than 50 or 60, then they will reject your paper immediately without consideration. So that is everything I want to talk today. And if you have any question, you are welcome to ask.
Thank you.